is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
It's people like my next guest why I never waver from the fact the righteous will defeat the evil. The good will defeat the rise of the communist, the Fourth Reich, that's maybe in control of a lot of our bureaucracies. But knowledge and courage will overcome it, and that's really the best way. His resume is so long, my producer got winded reading it to me. He's an investigative reporter, national security expert, U.S. Army veteran. He's written 2 books. He's produced 17 television shows. He infiltrates terrorists, not just in Detroit, but the real Hamas. He's fearless and relentless. That's really the best way to describe Scott Wheeler. Scott, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, Shaun?
Well, I love the idea that you're out there and you're doing this because you validate all of my accusations. You truly do. You see, I believe for many years we're fighting a Leviathan, a Fourth Reich that wants to give us the illusion of our republic, of representation, when really it's the game that's been afoot for 150 years. The Fabians versus the Marxists. And they've got us chasing our tail because the information is compartmentalized. And now they have the media as a Politburo, as a propaganda wing. What do you think?
Well, I think you've summed it up pretty well. I call the media, for the most part, it's their Democrat Party apparatchiks cross-dressing as journalists.
I love it. And it really explodes when the nucleus of gangster government, the social club called My Hometown Chicago and the Chicago Democrat, was exported to the White House. To me, it really exploded when Barack Obama was able to uncouple financial reality to fund these organizations between the nonprofits and the NGOs. I believe that the Democrat mafia that goes back to Saul Alinsky and the Chicago gangsters, that's who sacked our White House, who sacked our government. And I believe what we see in these riots, this is all just foot soldiers who are being paid. They call them Antifa or Trans-Tifa or whatever they call them. But to me, they're just the Bolsheviks who overthrew so many of great societies. How do you find it?
Yeah, absolutely. And at times they even serve as the Democrat Party militia. They were prepared to riot after if Trump had not if Trump had won the 2020 election, and I think perhaps he did, they were prepared to take to the streets and riot on behalf of the Democrat Party. Few people know that, but they were in place. I witnessed it.
And that's what you do. You infiltrate these organizations. You've actually infiltrated Hamas. But, it was that Bob Kramer. You remember his wife was that very ugly woman from Chicago, a congresswoman. And her name escapes me right now. But Bob Kramer was her husband. And it was at the Trump rally at the University, UIC in Chicago. And he had hired people to throw the Trump supporters up into a frenzy. Is that the kind of thing you infiltrate to secure your opinion or to expose the reality of what's happening? Jan Schakowsky,
that's how
that's her name.
Jan Schakowsky, yes, I know her, actually. I've interviewed her a couple of times. But that's what we're looking for. In this case, after the Dobbs decision leaked from the Supreme Court, across the country, there were nearly 300 attacks on pro-life centers. And in one case up in Buffalo, they firebombed the building, blew it up, they basically did $500,000 in damage. And the FBI did nothing. And in fact, I think there have been fewer than half a dozen arrests for all of these crimes. And they signed it Jane's Revenge. And no one was sure at that time when I first got involved, but I had been tracking Antifa for almost 8 years by that time. And I said, I think this is Antifa. Sure enough, we got in there. It was. And it took us about 3 years, but we finally solved it. And we did a report on it and released it on my Substack. People can see it free at scottwheeler.substack.com. And you can see the perpetrators. We went and tracked them down and put a microphone in their face.
I love this. So this is what you've done. You've produced 17 documentaries. Are they all along the vein of exposing the political leviathan, the underbelly of corruption?
Yeah, most of them. A lot of them were on China's infiltration of the United States and how they literally stole high-tech weapon systems from the United States, how they bought it and in some cases stole it and obtained it through espionage. But a lot of that was probably 5 or 6 documentaries were on different aspects of that China's infiltration of the United States. And in one case we did, I went undercover as an arms dealer and we caught a Libyan weapons of mass destruction pipeline in 1998, 5 years before. At that time, our government denied that Libya had a WMD program, but we exposed it. And then in 2003, Gaddafi came clean. And the CIA still never called me and said, by the way, you were right about that.
So, Scott, I'm a junkie on this stuff, all right? I'm a junkie on it. And when you really dig into it and you go back to World War II and you see the game as it is structured, as it is set afoot, the key players that enable so much of the destruction are government itself. And, most people think government, they forget it. They pretend it's an entity of virtue. When the reality is there is no government, there's just people. So all of the scandals that have happened under both administrations, Republican and Democrat, whether you're talking about Mena, Arkansas, or you're talking about Iran-Contra, it all stems with the approval, almost as a crossing guard, if not a boss, by government agencies, whether it's the CIA or the FBI. Now, in my neighborhood, the FBI is a joke. It stood for Forever Bothering Italians. And when you look at what's happening, that's not to say there aren't good people. There are. But when you're outnumbered and you're in a system of corruption, you're either stifled through procedure, bureaucracy, or you're intimidated directly, and you're Kiki, the guy that was killed by the DEA agent that was killed, the
Kiki Camarena.
Kiki Camarena. So, to me, we've had terrible, corrupt frauds in charge, from George Bush Sr. to who knows who, and the nameless communists like Brennan and Comey. Am I right?
Well, there is a lot of corruption, and there's plenty to go around. And I as I pointed out, the Democrat Party I call them the corrupt party and the stupid party. Republicans are the stupid party. And the Democrats, they infiltrated the Department of Defense, the FBI, the Justice Department, the CIA. And, few people remember this, but the Democrats used to hate the CIA and the FBI. You go back 20 years, they hated them. And then they got in control of it, and all of a sudden the CIA and the FBI became protected status. You could not insult a CIA or an FBI agent. That was practically a crime in the eyes of the Democrat. It was like attacking a soldier. And it is because the Democrat Party got control of those departments, by planting their loyal cronies in the civil service positions, which means that they can't be fired. They're not political appointees. They're just placeholders.
Forever bureaucrats. Yeah.
Yes. And they dominate that now, and that's how they get away with why there's been very few arrests in these firebombing cases and these attacks on the pro-life clinics and some churches.
Well, what you're describing is domestic terrorism. Antifa is a domestic terrorist organization, as Trans-Tifa, which I feel is not only directly responsible for my friend Charlie Kirk's death, but for so much of the mayhem and it's protected from government itself. If you've reported on this, if you broke this story, this is Antifa, and they're firebombing pro-life organizations. That is the definition of domestic terrorism, in the same way the Weather Underground was before Barack Obama represented them as the president. So we've got a real problem on our hands, and at least now for the last year and a half, Trump has been back in office. Is this picking up steam other than fantastic radio shows that are controlled by a very handsome host such as myself? Are you getting a lot of play? Are you on Fox and whatnot?
I haven't been on Fox in a long time. I think we're sort of bubbling along below the attention level. So that's all right. At some point, Fox is going to see this and pick it up, and then we'll start getting credit for it, and the FBI will, at the political level, will start paying attention. But right now, we just don't know. Not enough people have seen it. And people can go to scottwheeler.substack.com. You can watch it free. Please send it to, it's a YouTube video. You can send it to everybody. It's short, 7 minutes long. And get the word out, and eventually we will get justice.
Oh, I think so. I mean, and it's always going to be the money. It's always going to be the money trail. When this explosion happens of domestic terrorism being money laundered through NGOs and through different nonprofits and organizations that are offshore financed by the Chinese, ultimately there's a money trail to it. And when you look at the mass explosion of the debt since Barack Obama seizes the White House and the $30 trillion, that's a tremendous amount of money. And I'm wondering how much of this money have you gone through the money aspect, because the scandals, they're really too numerous to go over, whether we talk about Act Blue, whether we talk about Code Pink and the Chinese Neville or whatever the hell his name is, Neville Singh Neville, whatever. And you talk about the Southern Poverty Law Group financing the Klan. So ultimately, there is a trail. And I feel like the Trump administration, and Scott Bessent specifically, is aware of this. Are you getting any indication that there are going to be chickens that come home to roost here?
I think that they have their hands full. Eventually, I think a lot of these things are going to be taken up, and we'll see the wheels of justice start turning rapidly again. But I think they have their hands full. There is so much that was left, and 4 years of Biden, and the political corruption is outrageous, and it goes back. This started back in the Clinton years, and it's gotten drastically worse through the Obama years, and then hit a peak when Biden was in office.
And the conduit of all of this is George Bush Sr. And George Bush Sr.'s relationship with Bill Clinton, his orchestration of the CIA, during the operations in Mena, Arkansas, and other areas, and the Iran-Contra, which is a scandal most Republicans are afraid to talk about. I think it's outrageous. I think it was done without the knowledge of Reagan. But I remember when Reagan couldn't stand Bush. I remember the debates. And when he all of a sudden was the vice president, it was because the Republican Party insisted on him having that position, or the money would not go to Reagan. So when you look back at all of this, I was thinking of Operation Gladio with the Vatican and all that. But when you look back at all of this and you see the connections, the play of Barack Obama being Lolo Soetoro's stepson, the number 2 richest man in Indonesia, who was an asset of the CIA when Bush was the leader of it, it could very well be that this is not a partisan issue whatsoever. This is just about the illusion of a republic where the control has the plausible deniability up until now, and investigative reporters like you. So when you look at all of it, including the war in the former Soviet Union and the connection between the Azovs and the Bush's father, Prescott Bush, and you look at the relationship and how that was cultivated during Obama and what we see there, could it be we're also financing the wrong side of that war of the former Soviet Union as well?
Well, those are out of my league to answer, but I can tell you that I've investigated many of the most controversial issues. I spent some time at MENA and the drug trafficking operation. I see it a little differently. I found that there wasn't a CIA connection. It was organized crime and Colombian narco terrorists. But
no
there
Barry
were,
Seal?
When a lot,
it was a Barry Seal guy.
Yeah, the Barry Seal operation. Yeah. What happens, though, Shaun, when these things blow up, you get scads of people jumping in and claiming they were a part of it. One guy in that case wrote a book, big, thick book with a reporter from New York, and he basically wrote himself into the MENA story, and he had nothing to do with it, had never even heard of MENA. And just a bizarre, these things. But this happens when you suddenly, I interviewed probably 40 guys who were in prison for drug trafficking and who had never mentioned a connection to the CIA until that hit the streets. And then that story was out, and all of a sudden all these drug traffickers were working for the company, as they used to say. And it just blew up all at once. And so that's what the disinformation and misinformation that's out there really muddies all the water, and it makes it more difficult to track these things down because you've got all these bit players on the fringe jumping in and writing themselves into the story. And Trump's seeing some of that right now with the Epstein files. All of a sudden you've got women around the country saying, yes, I was 12 years old and Trump molested me when I was at Epstein's place. And these stories, it happens to everybody. And Trump, of course, is that you would never hear of these people unless it's somebody the media hates. The media and the Democrats hate Trump. So, of course, suddenly these people, the same with Kavanaugh. I knew one of the women who accused him. She's a nutcase. Everybody who knew her knew she was lying. But the media give these people credibility by pretending they believe the story or pretending that this is possible. Maybe they might be telling the truth, even though they know darn well that they aren't.
Well, look at E. Jean Carroll.
It's really tragic.
E. Jean Carroll would be in an asylum when we were young. Instead, she stands to grab $85 million or some ridiculous amount of money. When it comes to Antifa, the timing of Antifa, coinciding with the BLM movement, where the drug dealer George Floyd, who by the way is clean 6 years now, when he was died of an overdose, and you see the timing of Antifa, it coincides with so much of what went wrong, including the pandemic. But you said something earlier that you and I totally agree on. There's no question in my mind that 2020 was stolen. So how much of Antifa's rise was due to a distraction play to distract people from proving beyond the shadow of a doubt when you put on top of that COVID and the censorship and the power grab and all the rest of it? How much of Antifa is that perfect flash bomb grenade to distract us from the obvious election theft of 2020?
Well, the left knows how to work these groups, and they throw out, they toss them some money, and they point to a target, and then they take over after that. And that was the case with George Floyd, which could have just as easily have been explained. Everybody knew that he had a drug overdose and that he wasn't killed by this officer. I mean, after the autopsy was done, everybody knew it, but instead they just went full on with that same cover story. Cops are killing black people. Cops are killing black men, and they're targets. And it's why in the world would anyone feed that storyline, knowing that it's not true, that there are more white guys getting killed by cops than black guys?
Yeah, well, it doesn't sell.
Are there.
They have to divide, right? You got to divide and conquer and the rest of it. But you've witnessed this so much in your life and through your career. And you've done things that I can't even imagine. You infiltrate Hamas to expose pipelines of weapons. When you see what's happening in the Middle East, how much of this that's killing or trying to kill our boys is bought and paid for by Americans and the pipeline of weapons being resold to the Islamo-Nazi?
Well, I can't speak to that directly, but we hear what we hear mostly is Trump started this war in Iran, and I keep reminding people, no, it started 47 years ago. Iran started this war, and they killed. Nobody. I get so frustrated when Republicans won't fight back by pointing out that Iran killed anywhere from 650 to over 1,000 American soldiers in Iraq. They killed them. They made the bombs, the V-beds and the IEDs. They made them to target American soldiers, and yet we let the left get away with saying Trump started a war in Iran, and he's actually the only president who's fought back against it. The war's been going on one-sided for all these years.
Well, only you and I remember when they held our diplomats for 444 days. You remember that countdown? You remember when they kidnapped when they sacked it in the first place and became the theocracy, let alone when Obama was president, how they made our sailors kneel. I'll tell you the truth. It's just it's amazing to watch how successful the propaganda is, which is why investigative reporters in the right spot with the fortitude, or as it's known in my neighborhood, the testicle fortitude, to write about it. Scott Wheeler, you are invaluable to the fight. ScottWheeler.substack.com, correct?
Yes, you are correct. Thanks so much, Shaun.
No, I look forward to shaking your hand in person. And the YouTube web page is, or the YouTube page is just Scott Wheeler?
Yeah, you can get it, Scott Wheeler, News Inquisitor. The Substack will take you to the YouTube video.
All right. Well, you stay safe. I always wanted to be James Bond, and you are. So thank you very much for making time for me.
Thank you so much, Shaun. Good to talk to you.
You too. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
Call Shaun now. 312-642-5600.
Have you seen videos of Russian floating folk dancers?
Floating Russian? Who's